Welcome to the Nerdstalgic podcast with your host, the Ginger Bookworm. Nerdstalgic with the Ginger Bookworm. Nerdstalgic with the Ginger Bookworm.
Howdy folks, and welcome back to the second to last Nerdstalgic episode of 2022 with me, your host Luke. Hope you're all doing well. Hope you're all good as per usual. Today's going to be a fun one. Today we're going back to video games. I know I haven't really talked about a video game in a very long time. I'm still keeping it Narnia focused, but I decided that today I'm going to go back to talk about Prince Caspian, but for the Xbox 360. Because I figured if I'm going to talk about Narnia, I can't just talk about the movies and the books. I've got to keep it a bit fun because, I know that my listeners, I have listeners that like books, I have listeners that like movies and TV shows, and I got listeners that like video games. And one of the joys, one of the things that I love so much about my content and about the nostalgic and all that is that I try to cater to all my hobbies. I try to cater to everybody. You know what I mean? So one week I'll do movies, one week I'll do a book review, next week I'll do it's always random, but it's always, I try to a little bit of thing for everything. I don't just want to be stuck as the guy that just does movies or the guy that just does this or that, I want to kind of do a bit of everything for everybody. So that's how I like to be like water. I like to be very motion, very fluid, very loosey-goosey. You never know what you're going to get with me each week. And again, that's the added the enjoyment with it. So, but I figured because I'm talking about the movies and the books, that I will go play a game that I wanted to play when it came out. But obviously never got around to it. Because again, like I mentioned when I talked about the books and I talked about the movies, by the time Prince Caspian came out, I was edging more to the teenager side, and I was very sort of like, oh, I don't want to play no kids game. I want to play it, but I can't play it. I can't be seen playing that. My friends on Xbox are going to see me, blah blah. All that rubbish that you have when you're a teenager. So I never really got round to the whole sort of getting around to playing it. So I figured now I'm at 24, now I'm an adult, why not play it now? And also I think it'd be quite fun for you folks. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. But before I get onto that, for the last time of 2022, we're going to be talking, I'm going to be doing my promo for World of Books. So for the last time of 2022, come say it with me. Thank you to World of Books, and I generally mean this. Like I know I've set the joke up as a joke, as a piss take, but genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, if anybody is listen to this from World of Books, thank you so much, and I appreciate the opportunity that you folks are giving me, not just with the promo code, but also just for basically giving me a chance to have this sponsor. It is greatly appreciated. It means so much. Again, I don't know next. Again, I'm talking to everybody now. I don't know if next year I'm going to have another sponsor. I have thought about looking into hopefully inquiring one, because I have no idea how you'd inquire into getting one, if I'm being completely honest. But it's something I want to look into next year, because I like the idea of, you're not just getting fantastic, great content by me, wink, wink, but also, you're getting something back as well by a company that I like, and and that sort of thing. So I'll look into it for next year. But for this last time of 2022, thank you for World of Books. Thank you for sponsoring the show and sponsoring the podcast. And also, because they're so grateful and because they're so lovely, they're giving me a code NERDY10 to use at checkout to get yourself 10% off any and all purchases. Granted, I'm recording this on Boxing Day, so Christmas is now over. But Boxing Day sales, end of year, get yourself a bargain. Again, cost of living crisis. If you're a lover of books, old games, old movies, old vinyl, that sort of thing, and you don't mind it being pre-owned, then definitely get onto World of Books. Use my code NERDY10 or higher case NERDY10. And yeah, save yourself 10% off any and all things on their store. So thank you once again to World of Books for basically believing in me and sponsoring me this year. It's greatly appreciated. You don't understand how much it means to me. But I'm going to stop now before I get too emotional, and then I can't carry on. So thank you again to World of Books. So as I mentioned, we're talking about Prince Caspian, the Chronicles of Narnia today. No story time today because I've done a lot of story times this month so far. And to be honest, again, I love Narnia, and I could talk about Narnia to death, as proven. I've talked about it all month of December. Um, but as you've probably noticed, if you've been keeping up with my episodes, I've been running out of story times, mainly because there's not much to say that I haven't already said. I don't really want to rehash things. So no story time today. So what instead I'm going to do, as I do with every game review I do, I'm going to talk about the actual company itself. So this game, Chronicles of Narnia, Prince Caspian, for the Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, and I think they did it for the I think they did it for the PC, Wii, and DS as well. But I don't know if they did those ports as well. But I know they did the ports for the Xbox because that's the one I've got. I'm sure they probably did the one for the PlayStation as well. But Traveller's Tales, you might recognise the name. They're the folks that do all the Lego games. But they've also done a lot of other games, and I've got the list of all the games that they've made. So they haven't just made Lego. They make Lego now, but for a long time, they made a lot of mostly Disney stuff for a long time. So they did a game. Their first game was called a game called Leader, and then Pugsy, and then you got Bram Stoker's Dracula, Mickey Mania, The Timeless Adventures of Mickey Mouse, Toy Story. They did a Sonic game, Sonic 3D Blast, Sonic R. I don't know what that is, but considering it's got a checkered flag in the background, I assume it's a racing game. Rascal, A Bug's Life, a Toy Story 2, Buzz Lightyear, Star Command. I love that TV show. Now that's a TV show that needs to go on Disney Plus, and when it does go on Disney Plus, you better believe I'm reviewing that show because I loved that show growing up. I love Buzz Lightyear. Even now as an adult, I love Buzz Lightyear. He's one of my favorite characters from Toy Story. Which, as you know, if you listen to my Lightyear review, you know that I'm a big fan of his, and I was really disappointed of how he was portrayed. But again, that's a different review. Check it out; it's fantastic. Then they did the Muppets Race Mania, Toy Story Racer. They did a Wiki Slink game. They did Crash Bandicoot, the Wrath of Cortex. Again, I don't know if that was a port on if that is like the Crash Bandicoot game for the PlayStation, or it was a port. I don't know. It doesn't say. I'm on their website, so I'm not on Wikipedia this time. Oh no, shocker! I'm actually on their website. Then they made a game called Haven, Call of the King. They did the Finding Nemo game, which I had for the PlayStation 2, which is actually not that bad. The Finding Nemo game. It's a bit repetitive. It's a bit like, again, it has its difficulty spikes, as we all know with the difficulty spikes in these old games. If you've been following along with my other game reviews of classic games, you know that these things just fluctuate. Sometimes they're really, really easy, and then at the very end, it's really hard and no one can complete it. This is that Finding Nemo was that game. It was like really easy, really simple, and then bam! It was like, oh god, what do I do? You know. But yeah, Finding Nemo had that for the PlayStation. Then they did Crash Twin Insanity, which my aunt had on the original Xbox, which I remember that fondly. Now we're moving on to the Lego side of it. So their first Lego game was Lego Star Wars, the video game. They did Formula One, World Rally Champion, FIA World Rally Championship, then the Chronicles of Narnia line, which are the wardrobe for the PlayStation 2, original Xbox, Super Monkey Ball Adventure, Lego Star Wars 2, the original trilogy, that's where I started. I started there with the PlayStation 2. I had that. And then they did Bionicle Heroes, which is another game I want to get and look into because that looks really, really interesting. And I quite liked Bionicle growing up. If anybody knows what but if anybody doesn't know what Bionicle is, Bionicle was a scheme. But it is basically. I love Lego, but let's admit it was a scheme by Lego to basically mass market action sort of warriors to boys. It was a way to make money off the male market, to basically push it towards boys. Because I think the girls had Polly Pocket, because I think Lego did a deal with Polly Pocket or something like that. So the girls had that sort of side of Lego, but they wanted to push like a male focused, boy orientated like sort of creation. So they made the Bionicles. And don't get me wrong, they are badass and they're really, really cool, and the lore is really, really deep, and people just still to this day really get really deep into it. I never did. I had a few of them and had a few figures, and then I think I don't know what happened to them, to be honest. But Bionicle Heroes is a game I'd like to look into, because I remember that's meant to tie in with the TV show that they did. Again, I never watched the TV show. I don't know any of the characters, so it'd be completely new for me when I get around to it. But that will be like a season 2, like next year sort of thing, if I ever get around to it. Then they did the Transformers game, which I had on the Xbox 360. They did the Star Wars, the Complete Saga, which I have. And then we got Prince Caspian. They did that. Then they did the Lego Indiana Jones, had that. Lego Batman, had that. Lego Battles, Lego Rock Band, Lego Indiana Jones 2, The Adventure Continues. Never played it. Meant to be really, really good. Then they did Harry Potter Ages 1 to 4, haven't played. Lord of the Rings, Aragon's Quest, haven't played. Lego Star Wars 3, The Clone Wars, have played, really, really good, underrated. Lego Pirates of the Caribbean, played it, really, really good. Lego Harry Potter Years 5 to 7, haven't played it. Lego Batman DC Superheroes 2, played it. Spy Hunter, Lego Lord of the Rings, fantastic, underrated, it's incredible. Lego City Undercover, played it a little bit, really, really good, surprisingly. Lego Chima, Lava's Journey, haven't played it. I know what Chima is, but I never really got into that whole thing, because by that stage I was an adult. Again, I'm not saying that adults can't love Lego, but like Chima was, unlike Barnacles, Chima was more focused for the younger generation. It wasn't for the adults. Like, I want like the Lego Death Star, which is like 500 quid. But I'm guessing, like, because it's Lego, this Chima stuff is probably really expensive as well, if I'm being honest. But anyway, Lego Marvel Superheroes, I've played that. Then they did the Lego Movie video game, of course they did. They did Lego The Hobbit, which I've played, wasn't impressed. Look forward to seeing a review to that next year, trust me. Lego Batman 3, Beyond Gotham, haven't played. Lego Ninjago, Shadow of Ronin, haven't played. Lego Jurassic World, played. Lego Dimensions, played a bit. Lego Avengers, haven't played. Lego Star Wars Force Awakens, the Lego Harry Potter collection, Lego Worlds, Lego Ninjago video games, Lego Marvel Superheroes 2, played. Lego The Incredibles, played. Lego DC Supervillains, the Lego Movie 2 video game, and then finally the last game they've made. They made a lot. Right, I need to take a breather. Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga, which is currently on Game Pass. I have it downloaded, but I haven't got around to it because my backlog is huge. Because I've decided to do Chronicles of Narnia at Christmas, which is the same time that a lot of games have been released and a lot of games have been put onto Game Pass, which means that I've been so focused elsewhere that I've got a huge backlog again. So it's going to take me a while to get through those before I even get to Lego Star Wars. But that's basically, for anybody who doesn't know who Traveller's Tales are, they are the Lego people. They never, like, as you could see from that list, they never used to do Lego. They've done more than just Lego, but they are mostly just known for Lego nowadays. But that's what kind of interests me so much with this game, is the fact of I've played their Transformers games, and when I played the Transformers game on the 360, which is based off the Transformers movie. The live action Michael Bay one, not the animated one. The animated one's amazing. And the live action one's good as well. I know I didn't sound that impressed there, did I, for a second? But generally, I quite like the first 3 movies, and then after that, it went a bit meh. But again, that's a different topic for a different day. But from what I remember from the Transformers games, they were quite interesting, but I never got through them very much. I was still very much young, just wanted to play them, just wanted to sort of shoot things, transforming from robot to car, drive around, mess about. Again, I never really played the campaign, so I can't really comment on if it was actually good or not, because I don't really remember. So one thing that interested me of this game was the fact it was made by Traveller's Tales, and I wanted to see how they basically make a non-Lego game, really, because again, as I mentioned, they are known for making Lego games, so I wanted to know how well they do at a non-Lego game, really. And I want to see if it has similarities, how the graphics are, is it good, is it bad, does it follow the story, do they kind of follow their same formula, that sort of thing. So that's kind of what I was looking for, and you'd be surprised at what I found. But to find that out, you're going to have to bear with me, because we're going to have to take a break. And then after the break, we come back and we'll jump straight into it. So, let's go into it, shall we? Right, so the review. So this is the part of the review that to be honest, I love the most. This part I enjoy the most. Again, I don't know why. I just really sort of this is my sort of my favorite part, and I've missed doing this because again, it's been so long since I've actually done a game review. So it's nice to be able to do this again. But it's time for box and complete section, which is the section for anybody who doesn't know, where I basically talk about the front and the back of the box and the inside and the manual, and basically give my thoughts and feelings on it. I know it sounds quite nerdy, but I like doing it. It's in all fairness, it would benefit more in a visual standpoint. Like if I actually do this in a proper YouTube video, then it would benefit more. I mostly do this because I like it. So it makes no real benefit to anybody listening because again, this is an audio format. I just like doing it. But this is the box and complete segment. So under the front of the box, you've got Prince Caspian in the front. Now, if you've seen the movie poster, it's exactly the same as the movie poster. It's not completely different. I've posted it on my Twitter. If anybody's really interested to see what it actually looks like, I've posted it on my Twitter. Just scroll down, you'll find it there. But on the front, you've got Walt Disney Pictures and Walden Media presents The Chronicles of Narnia, Prince Caspian. We've got Caspian in the front, looking badass. On the left, we have the Talmarines Castle. We've got the Talmarines below that. On the right hand side, it kind of the contrast between the different sides. So on the left hand side, you have the Talmarines, the enemy, and on the right hand side, you have Aslan and the four Peveril children. Lucy, Edmund, Susan, and Peter. They're on the light side, and then the left side, the dark side. Obviously, Caspian's in the middle. He's partly dark. He's partly lit up. It's kind of showing the fact of he is on both sides. His uncle and his dad and all that. His family. He's a Talmarin. That's where he's from. That's his side of him. But his other side of him is the good side, is the Narnia side, and that he's fighting for the Narnians, even though he is the prince of the Talmarins. So again, it's that light side, dark side kind of thing. It makes it look quite cool. So we flip it onto the back, and it goes, the journey back to Narnia, where a new age has begun. Fight as 20 different characters in epic battles. Battle alongside powerful creatures in team-up play. Drop in and play with a friend via co-op mode. And I quite like this box art on the back, to be honest. It's really, really cool. I don't know even, I can't even know what shape to call it, really. It's got like a Wolverine's claw. If I turn it on its side, it's like Wolverine's claw. So in the middle, we have a really cool drawing of King Miraz and High King Peter having their duel, having their battle one-on-one. So that's really, really cool. And then on the left-hand side, we've got two game stills. One from the video game, from the actual game itself, of Caspian fighting. Another one of a Minotaur going up against one of Miraz's like brutes, kind of like special sort of enemies that you face in the game. And then on the very bottom, and it makes me laugh because every time I look at it, I have to giggle. Right, so we have Prince Caspian on the right. Okay, he looks badass. He's holding a sword. He's looking right down at the camera. He's looking at you. He's like, yes, I'm Prince Caspian. I am magnificent. I'm beautiful. I'm handsome. And then right next on the left of him, you have a shot of Peter, which is actually taken from the movie while Peter's having his one-on-one battle with High King Miraz. And they had to take this picture at the wrong moment because Peter looks constipated. And generally he looks like he's looking for shit, basically. He's like, he's trying to find a toilet, can't find it, he's trying to hold it, he's like, ugh! While he's holding a sword drenched in armor. Generally it's not a good look for this actor, and not a good look for Peter at all. But that's the look that they decided to go with for the back of this box. If I open it up, oh, I love that sound. I don't just miss the old sound of an old Xbox 360 or like old. Oh, like the newer cases make the sound as well, but it's just nice. There's a sound that you get on the original sort of retro games that you just don't get nowadays. It's that sort of sound. I love it. And so inside we have in color. Now, if you've been listening to any of my gaming reviews, you know that I love a color manual. Any manual that's colored, I just love it because it just shows that the developers cared. You know what I mean? Not everyone is colour. Sometimes you get black and white, which is a bit dreary. But I just love a coloured manual. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. It's like a little magazine. I love them. So you open it up again to have the contents. Nothing really that important. Got big look of Prince Caspian. Big look at him, looking handsome. Look, here I am. I'm dashing. And then you've got introduction, the chapter, the characters. need to get my reading voice on. Right, so calm down. Whew. Introduction. The characters of C.S. Lewis's timeless fantasy come to life once again in this newest installment of the Chronicles of Narnia series. 1 year after the incredible events of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, Peter, Susan, Edmund, and Lucy find themselves back in that faraway, wondrous realm, only to discover that more than 1,300 years have passed in Narnia. During their absence, the golden age of Narnia has come to an end. Narnia has been conquered by the Talmarins and is now under the control of the evil king Miraz. The 4 children meet Narnia's rightful heir to the throne, the young Prince Caspian, who has been forced into hiding by Miraz. With the help of a large number of characters from old Narnia, they embark on a remarkable quest to rescue the Narnians from tyranny and restore magic and glory to the land. Now in the Chronicles of Narnia, Prince Caspian, you control not only the pensive children, but also this special group of Narnians. You must use all of their combined skills and abilities to fight against Miraz's countless hordes. Ultimately, you must help to restore Prince Caspian to the throne. This is your quest. That's pretty good for an introduction. It sets up the idea of what Chronicles of Narnia is. It kind of links it into C.S. Lewis. It also tells you that a lot of years have passed and that times have changed. Like if you played the original game, it's not going to be the same game. It's going to be different. So it's already sort of telling you that things are going to be different, and you just to be ready for that. So I like that, and again, it's a pretty good introduction. It tells the story quite well, and then as we flick through again in color, love it. It shows a level from the game. It shows you your health, your shield, your shards, your keys, your level maps. It goes through all that. Next page, you got your character section, special abilities, a lovely image of Susan with holding a bow. Then we've got next page, you've got levels of missions. Again, an absolutely fantastic picture of Peter in full knight regalia, full knight outfit, looking absolutely dashing as hell. Then we turn the page again. Then we have one of the magical creatures of Narnia, saving, and that just shows saving and loading, and customer support and all that jazz. And it's over. And then at the very back, we have a advertisement for Camp Rock. Anybody remember Camp Rock? Yeah, I remember Camp Rock. Don't fit in, stand out. Camp Rock, featuring the Jonas Brothers and introducing Demi Lovato, only on Disney Channel. Yeah, they had to add that in. Like Chronicles of Narnia, oh amazing, epic. Camp Rock, Disney Channel, original movie. I remember when that came out. I remember watching that on Disney Channel. Like me and my sister, I've already said it many times, a big Disney fan, and I haven't watched Disney Channel in a very, very long time, so I don't know if it's still the way they did it when I was younger. But like, it was a big thing whenever like a Disney Channel original movie was coming out. Like I remember the Sweet Life of Zack and Cody movie that came out was amazing. High School Musical again. It sounds quite cheesy, but I was looking forward to it at the time, and I quite enjoyed it. I remember I used to watch it all the time. Again, it kind of ran on for a bit longer than it should have, and then the whole sort of High School Musical thing kind of bled out as it kind of got sort of overly satirized, and it's like, oh god. But it did introduce the world to Zac Efron, and for that I am grateful, because Zac Efron, again, I think I'm one of these people that sit there and think Zac Efron's an underrated actor. He's a genuinely good actor, but people just underrate him. People just see him as the pretty boy. But generally, he's a really good actor. I think he just deserves more recognition. But yeah, it was a big thing, but I don't know. Times have changed. I'm an adult now, so I don't know what the new thing is on the Disney Channel, even if it is as good as it used to be. I just think it's funny that was on the back of it. Anyway, that's the box and complete section. So moving on to my overall thoughts of the game. Absolutely fantastic. I loved it. I really enjoyed myself with this game. Not that I didn't think I ever would. It's just the fact of, again, as I said, this game was made by Telltale Games. It was a non-Lego sort of game. I wanted to know how they do, how it would look, how it would feel. And again, I was quite surprised. Now, I will admit, and I will say it now, I haven't completed the game. And I just wanted to be completely honest with you folks. I haven't completed it. I know I tried to complete these games, then review them. But I started this last Monday because I was busy all the following weeks volunteering. So basically last week, the Christmas week, was the last week I had time. But I was also sort of like preparing for my operation, so I was on a special diet, and then I had to do all loads of other things up until the day. So I only had like, if anything, 2 to 3 days playing at midnight till about 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. Um, to really play this game. So I haven't completed it, but I will promise you now, I will go back and complete it, mainly because I am enjoying myself with this game. It's a lot of fun, really, really good. Again, I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought. Um, and to give you, not to kind of spoil it, and again, I will re-mention this at the end. I will recommend this game. But obviously, let me just tell you the reasons why first. But generally, I will recommend this game. So I will go back and complete it. Haven't completed it yet. I just wanted to be completely honest. But it's generally one that's worth playing. If you can find a copy of it and you have an Xbox 360 or PlayStation 3 or even a Wii or that sort of thing, if you have one of those, go back play it. I don't. And then again, I don't know how it will play on the Wii because the Wii was like a different thing. A lot, it might be completely different. But if you have a PlayStation 3 or an Xbox 360, again, go back play it. I'm sure they play exactly the same. Definitely. So that's some of my thoughts. Really, really enjoyed it. As for the story and character, the game follows the book and the movie quite closely. One thing that I was quite appreciative of was that how the way the movie starts. The movie starts basically where Caspian is in bed. King Miraz, his wife, gives birth to a son, and that the professor gets Caspian, basically tells him that Miraz has had a son. You've got to get out of Dodge because he's going to kill you, because now he has an heir to the throne. Run for it because you're going to die. And then it comes in and they basically try to assassinate him in bed, and then he runs off, blows a horn, and then the journey adventure begins. In this game, how it starts, it shows a scene from the movie that I would assume, considering that it's not in the DVD version that I have, and it's not in the Disney Plus version that I watched. It's not on there. That I would assume it was a scene that was filmed but cut from the movie, and it adds in what I mentioned in my review that they took out. In my review, I mentioned that I liked that they didn't faff about, that they basically got on with the movie. That basically it started with Prince Caspian's assassination, and then the adventure basically begins. Because in the books, you actually kind of grow up with Caspian. You kind of learn more about him. You learn that he is a believer of the Narnian stories. Again, to him, they are just stories, are just legends. He wants to grow up to be like High King Peter. He idolizes the pensive children. He loves the idea of the fairy tales and all that. And this sort of extra sort of scene, what it does, it kind of it shows Prince Caspian walking around with the professor, as the professor basically tells him of the golden age of Narnia, of what happened to the Narnians, how they disappeared, and basically it sets up the next the first level in the game, where basically Caspian says to the professor basically what happened to the Narnians, what like after the kings and the queens left, and he basically says there was a big war between the Narnians and the Talmarins, and that the last great battle was held at Kelpevere, which is the castle, and some of the Narnians, some of the loyalists tried to hold out, whatever you want to pronounce it there, and then that scene sort of ends, and then you go straight into gameplay. And again, I will mention it more when we get into the gameplay a bit, but it generally feels like Lord of the Rings. It scratches that itch of PlayStation 2 Lord of the Rings, but I'll get into that. But it jumps straight into it, jumps straight into the gameplay, and I like that. I liked that they took it out of the movie, because I like how they just well, obviously I like a lot about these films, obviously, but I just like how they get on with it. But also, I kind of like the idea of when you play the video game that you get a bit extra. You know what I mean? Like they took it out the movies, kind of because of to save time, just to get into the adventure, to get into the action. But also, I like how they add it into the game. So those of us that enjoyed the movie and got the game, you got a bit extra. You know what I mean? You got that extra bonus. You got that extra bit of scene that wasn't in the films. So you got that extra bit of backstory that somebody who's only watched the film wouldn't get. And if you read the books, watched the films, then when you played the game, you would know what he was talking about. You could best relate to it more, So it works on many different levels. So I appreciate that they left that in, and they allow, instead of having a cutscene of like a battle and then it's over and then the game starts, it actually lets you play that battle. It actually lets you experience it in that play space as a Narnian. As a you play as a you have a Thorn, who an arrow specialist, and you play as this, not a satyr. I still haven't learnt the name of the man horse people, those things, and you have a dwarf and you have a minotaur, and you play as these um, characters that you can go, and basically as the game goes on, you have checklists that you have to complete, and you kind of go from different parts of the castle trying to defend it. It's really, really interesting. I promise I'll go into more detail when we get into the gameplay part, but I really just like that, how you just get to play it, how you get to experience it. It's not just a cutscene. So I have to admire them for that. Again, as to the characters, you play as all the characters that from the movie. You get to play as the Pensive Children. You get to play as Caspian. You get to play as the Professor. You get to play as Reapcheap. You get to play as Knickerbrick. You get to play as what's his name now? What's Peter Dinklage's character? Oh God, I'm completely blanking on his name. But you get to play as his character. They all have different sort of abilities. You get to play as like Narnians as well. You get to play as Minotaurs. You get to play as goat people. You get to play as the horse people. You get to play as the thorns. You get to play as so many different characters, and each one of them has like different abilities. Some of them do archery. Some of them are like big brutes, big tanks. You get to play as giants, and they're big bruisers. They're ones for taking down barriers. For example, Peter has a hook, and you can use this grapple hook to climb ledges. You can use it to pull down structures. Susan, again, she has her arrows, so she can sort of shoot targets from afar, and she can solve puzzles like that. You've got Reapcheap, and you've got the dwarves who can fit through small gaps, and they'll go through small holes, and they'll unlock areas for you. And again, Reapcheap's really, really cool because he's small and nimble. He can be he's quite agilic, so he's very, very quick in his attacks. And if you have somebody who's like a giant, very slow in attacks, so each character has a different ability. Each character feels different. Now, some of the characters share abilities. Some of them like share the hook that Peter has. Some of them share the bow and arrow that Susan has. But each one of them plays differently. Every time you fight with them, they swing the sword differently, and that's mainly down to the fact of and I know this because I unlocked it through bonuses, which again I'll get on to. I always jump ahead. I know I just enjoy whenever you can tell when I've enjoyed a game because I tend to jump ahead even and have to pull myself back. But you do get these bonuses in the game that kind of show you the development of how the game was made, and they actually use motion capture for each one of the characters. That's why each one of them plays and fights differently. They don't just swing a sword left and right, up and down. Generally, each character fights differently because each character has been motion capturally animated to fight differently, and I like that. And I really, really again, you just have to admire the dedication that went into it. This game doesn't feel like a cash grab. It's simple at times, yes, but it doesn't feel like a cash grab. You can tell that generally Traveller's Tales actually tried with this game. Generally it's that good, and that kind of leads on nicely to the gameplay. This game, and I mentioned it at my overall thoughts and feelings, but this game is the closest I've been able to get to Lord of the Rings on the PlayStation 2. Now, anybody who played the Two Towers or Return of the King on the PlayStation 2 or the original Xbox knows what I'm talking about here. Those games were just magical and just made you feel really in the thick of it in battle. You had you surrounded by tons of orcs, and you were just swinging all heaven. Like I still remember the Mines of Moria mission. It was just epic. One of my favorites, one of my highlights from that game. But this was the closest I've gotten to that feeling. I haven't gotten to that feeling for a very, very long time. So it was the nostalgia point there. And that's the whole point of the Nerdstalgic podcast. That's the whole point of what I do here is to have the nerdy orgasm, but also have the nostalgia as well. You know what I mean? So I'm having the nerdy, oh my god, and then having the nostalgia of, oh my god, it's like it's just like Lord of the Rings, and mixed together, and you have Nerdstalgic. See, it all makes sense. It's all, oh, it's all perfect. It's all connected, man. It's all connected. I love it. But yeah, it was just like a fantastic experience with the gameplay. How it just feels like Lord of the Rings so well. Like there was many times where I would stop and be like, I just feel like I'm playing Lord of the Rings now. I love it. You know, it took me back to when I was a really, really young boy. Also, nothing that this game made me feel, and it's kind of funny. This part was, but this is the most non-Lego game I've ever played. Let me try to rephrase that and break it down. This game feels like a Lego game without being made out of Lego. Now, obviously, as I mentioned, Traveller's Tales, they're known for making Lego games. They have a form. Each one of their Lego games basically has a formula. Some of the games depends on if it's like Star Wars or Pirates of the Caribbean. You know, some games, depending on the genre and where it's set, will play differently, right? But 9 times out of 10, most of the Lego games have a formula, which I enjoy. I'm not dogging on that formula. I quite enjoy that repetitiveness of how those games work. I enjoy it. I like it. I love the Lego games. You know, I'm not having a go about it. But it's kind of funny to play that sort of loop when you're not in Lego. You know what I mean? Because how these games work in terms of gameplay is that you'll have 3 to 4 characters, and I mentioned each character has their own abilities. They can do certain things, and you'll be in a level and you have a checklist, and the checklist will be like find Susan's horn. So that's the best case scenario. It's the first level when you're actually playing as the Narnians, and you're defending Cal Pavel, right? So there'll be different puzzles to unlock, and each puzzle will allow you to go to a different area. So say for one area will be the front of the gates, so you go for the front of the gates, the gameplay will change, and now you have to defend the castle from trebuchets. So then you've got to go out. Again, big battles, surrounded by enemies, so you fight your way through the enemies. You find a giant, jump onto the back of the giant, and then use the giant to destroy the trebuchets. Then once you completed that level, you're back into the main hub area of the level. You solve another puzzle, you go to another area, and this area could be stop the archers. So then 2 characters, so you play as the Thorn, and I think you play as the Dwarf, the 2 archery characters. And then your job is to stand on the battlements and to shoot at the archers to stop the archers coming in. And then that finishes. You checked another list. You come back to the main hub. You do another puzzle. Then you go to another area, and it's like, okay, now you've got to use a ballista to destroy the oncoming ships. And again, it sounds repetitive, and it might be, depending on, again, if you don't like Lego games, if you don't like the repetitiveness of a checklisty sort of system. I quite enjoy it because for me, again, I like the Lego games, but also it kind of makes sense as a battle. You know, it's not just the fact of I'm not just a soldier and I'm not just fighting, waves and waves of enemies, because that would be boring if I'm just fighting hordes and hordes of enemies and then I destroy 3 hordes and that's it, next level. I like that I'm doing something that actually is intangible, not just to the story, but also to what's actually going on in the battle. So again, I'm not saying it's realistic, but it would be like what a real battle is. For 1 minute I could be an archer on the battlements firing down on enemy soldiers. Next thing I know, the enemies broke down the barriers on the left hand flank. Now I've got to go run off, and now I'm no longer an archer. I've got to pull out my sword, and now I'm fighting those. And if I survive that, we've got ships coming in from the far side. There's all the people that are on the blisters are dead. I've got to make my way over to the blisters. Then I've got to, on my own, hopefully I can get another man or somebody with me to help me load this ballista, fire it at the ships and take them out. I like that sort of progression of like I'm in a war zone. Yes, it's checklisty, but I just like the idea that I'm a part of the actual fight. That I'm there, that I'm fighting it, that I'm experiencing it, and it's the same for every level. Even though every level is different, it's still the same. You get another level, you have a little hub area, and it'll be fact of you go through this cave or you go through this bit of the woods, for example, and it'd be like, okay, so now you're in this bit of the woods. Now you've got to go scout out ahead and secure the area from bears. So now you've got to run away from bears, lead the bears into traps. They get trapped, so it's safe for Lucy and Susan to go through. There are areas when you're going against Mraz's castle and you're invading, and you've got to set it up. You've got to make sure that you take out all the defenses, you take out all the guards before the reinforcements can come in. And then when the reinforcements comes in, then you've got to basically use Reap Cheap to solve a puzzle so that the gate stays open long enough for the soldiers to get out. You know what I mean? It links into the story, but also makes me feel like I'm actually doing something. I'm not just a soldier fighting off waves of enemies, and that would be fun for the first 5 to 10 minutes, depending on if I had abilities, which you have abilities, but when it comes to fighting, it is quite basic for the fighting: heavy attack, light attack, and if you have a bow and arrow, use it. Otherwise, it's fun at first, but eventually it's like, okay, I've done this repetitively on a loop. I want something different. Whereas with the checklist system, and again, I know a lot of people don't like the checklist system, but for me personally, it just made me feel like I was a part of the story. It made me feel part of the battle. It made me feel like a soldier, like a hero, like I'm saving the day. And you know you have to think about it. Fair enough, I'm 24, but I've got a child. I've got a mind like a child. I'm still quite young at heart. So for me, it's a bit different. You have to kind of imagine how this game would be played by a child, and that's what the child would want. The child would want to feel like they are involved. They want to feel like they're on this epic adventure, epic journey. That's the whole point of this story of Narnia. Is when you're young, you want to feel like you're important. You want to be made to be important. You want to be involved. So yes, it follows on with the checklisty sort of Lego sort of style of like solve a puzzle, new area, do another puzzle, another area. Swap characters. One character can do something that another character can't do. Again, some people might not like that. I quite enjoy it. So maybe I'm sort of quite biased, but it works quite well here. So it does feel like a Lego non-Lego game, and I like that. And I have to kind of commend it for that. I find it quite enjoyable, but I will have to be as the reviewer inside me has to kind of be honest and say it might not be for everybody, but I would still say it's quite enjoyable. Depends on who you are and what sort of games you like to play. um Next, we have the achievements and bonuses. This honestly has to be the easiest set of achievements to achieve since Avatar: The Last Airbender, Burning Earth. Anybody who knows about Avatar: The Last Airbender, Burning Earth will know what I'm talking about. If you don't, basically, it was a game that was made for the Xbox 360, following The Last Airbender, Avatar, and basically it's known for the easiest 1000 gamer score in gaming history, mainly because all you have to do as soon as the game starts, you're in a little tutorial area, and all the achievements are based off high combo bonuses. So the higher you can get your combo, the higher the achievement you unlock the achievements. And basically all you have to do as soon as that level starts is just spam the fire button, I think in the left or right hand corner where the enemies come from, and you just fire it constantly. Just keep doing that, and you do that for, I think it's like less than 2 minutes, and then you get 1000 gamer score. It's as simple as that. That's all you gotta do, right? I still haven't played it. I am an achievement hunter, but I haven't got around to actually buying it yet. I will do eventually. I'm in no rush, if I'm being honest. I just like to know that if I ever need 1000 gamer score, that it's there if I need it. But the reason why I mention it is the fact of this game. It's not as easy, as simple as that, but it is in a way. It just takes a lot more time because, again, I haven't completed this game. But one of the other reasons I will complete it, next to enjoying it, is for the easy gamer score, because all you have to do in this game to get the gamer score is just to play it. That's it. There's no multiplayer. There's no multiplayer stuff. There are one or two co-op achievements, which I probably end up doing with my brother later on down the line. But everything else, all you have to do is just play the game. And if you play the game, you get an easy 800 to 850 gamer score, and the rest is just filled in through. But actually, I think you probably even get 900 gamer score, and then the rest are just co-op focused. But generally, all you do is play the game, and you get it's an easy 1000 game score. And if you play the game with a co-op buddy at the beginning of the game, you'll get those straight away 1000 game score. It's easy as that. So for achievements and achievement hunters alone, it's worth playing. As for the bonuses, and I mentioned it above, there are some good bonuses here. Again, it's kind of standard for what you have from movie tie-in sort of games. You have clips of the movie, which are not very good clips of the movie. They're very file compressed sort of versions of the movie, so they're very low quality, sometimes quite choppy, very grainy, not fantastic. Really, if you'd rather just watch the movie, I would say just watch the movie, to be honest. But you unlock them through getting chests. So as you play for the game, you find keys. These keys are scattered everywhere, and when you find these keys, you can open these chests, and in these chests you will get bonuses. And again, it's never sort of like, it's always random whatever these bonuses can be. Sometimes it can be a movie clip, sometimes it can be a movie still, so a still image from the film. One thing that I did enjoy from it was that they put in developer videos. Now again, as somebody who studied game design at school, I really appreciate um, game design development videos and documentaries. I really love watching those sort of things because I know what it takes to make a video game, um, and what goes into it, and the decisions behind it, and all that kind of stuff fascinates me. Um, so I love watching those things, and I appreciate them when they're added in. So it was just interesting to sit and watch the mocap team um, talk about what they wanted for certain scenes, or how they wanted certain characters to act, and to how would Prince Caspian fight, how would Peter fight, how would a Minotaur fight, how would a giant fight, how would Reapcheap fight, and then you have these guys who are obviously highly trained, not just actors but highly trained, combationists, doing sword work, and it was fascinating to see how different swordsmiths and how they had different fighting styles. And one guy, I remember one guy was running up and he did this like kung fu sort of like running high kick, and then he did a spin in the air and he landed, but as he landed he slashed with his sword. I was like, I remember seeing Caspian. Caspian does that in the game. If you run up to an enemy and you go to charge at them with a heavy attack, he runs at them, hits them in the face with his leg, spins around in the air and slices them. You know what I mean? And I just find that quite fascinating. So I wasn't that interested in the movie clips, and I wasn't interested in the movie stills, but I did spend a bit of time just watching the developers' sort of videos of just how they made the game. And then there was some sort of developer videos of the actual actors from the movie playing their characters in the game as well. So some of it was a bit cheesy, some of it was quite sort of interesting. It depends, again, it depends on what you're looking for. Again, for a kid might not be interested in the game development side of it. They mostly would rather, I don't, then again, I don't know if they'd be interested in the movie stills or clips either, because I remember playing movie tie-in games and getting bonuses, and then looking at the bonuses and seeing what they were, and be like, is that it? Just a movie still? Not that interested. I can't really do anything with it, and you know what I mean? So I never much liked them myself when I was younger. So I don't know how other kids feel. They might be great with other kids, but again, these are just extra bonuses that are like, that not important, and then you have the somewhat important, somewhat interesting developer sort of videos. So again, it all depends what you're looking for in terms of how you like your bonuses, really. Um, and so final thoughts. My final thoughts on the game is play it. Give it a go. If you can find a copy, definitely it's worth playing. If you played the Lord of the Rings games on the PlayStation 2 or the Xbox or the GameCube, if you played those, again, this will scratch that itch, that Lord of the Rings itch for you. It's a lot of fun. Yes, it is quite checklisty, and there are a lot of things um, there that some people might not enjoy, having the repetitiveness of like, oh, you complete a puzzle, do one section, then you're back to the hub world, do another puzzle, do another section. Again, I can understand where it'd be a bit samey and boring for some people, but if you like that loop, if you like the Lego games, if you like Narnia, this is definitely one for you to give a go. It is really, it's a lot of fun, and I've enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would. Again, the achievements are really, really easy and simple. So if you're looking to boost your gamer score, again, you have a bonus there, as well as the bonuses. If you're interested in how this game was made, or if you're interested in game development videos, as well, they're probably on YouTube now, to be honest. But again, if you were interested in that kind of stuff and you want to look around for the collectibles, again, that's there for you as well. But overall, I would say definitely I recommend it. Give it a go. Give it a play. I enjoyed it more than I would do. It might not be for everybody, but it's generally one that's worth looking into. And yeah, that's everything. So this is the final Chronicles of Narnia, anything that I have to do. It's a shame. It really is, because I've really enjoyed myself this month talking about Narnia, a place that I love and I hold very dearly. There have been moments where I felt like I've gotten on people's nerves, how I just constantly talk about Narnia. And if I have done, I do apologise. But I have a lot of love and appreciation for this world and its characters, and it means a lot to me. And I do appreciate you folks for sticking with me and joining my love and appreciation for a world that I hold so dearly. But yeah, it's over finally, so everybody can breathe, everybody can relax. They're finally done, and we ended on a high note, if you ask me, with Prince Caspian for the Extra 360. Yeah, really enjoyed it. But on to the end now. So, Avidase, and time to leave the wardrobe for the final time. Yeah, it's going to be a shame to say that, but it's time to leave the wardrobe. On to reality. So here we are at the end. We've left the wardrobe behind. We can never enter Narnia again through the wardrobe. The adventure is over. But what an adventure we had. You know, we spoke about the books, all of the books, even the bad ones. Having a bit of a Vietnam flashback there to the bad ones. We spoke about all the movies. We finally talked about one of the video games for it. Yeah, I feel like I covered Narnia quite well. I don't know what I'm going to do next Christmas, to be honest. I don't know. Depends how I feel. I might talk about the Golden Compass, Dark Materials. Well, then again, yeah, I'd say there's enough books there to last a month, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how I feel. Oh, I might just do Christmassy movies. Or maybe even try to find Christmassy games, or just talk about Christmassy things. I don't know. I'll see how I feel. You know, it's a year away. You know, so I ain't gonna look too far ahead. But who knows what comes next year? But we've had one hell of a journey this year, and I just want to say thank you to everybody who's followed me along with the Narnia trip. I know I mentioned that I feel like I'm annoying people talking about Narnia, but again, that's a me thing. That's not a you thing. But I generally hope that you all enjoyed it, and that yeah, that you've basically you've just had fun, you know, and that's the whole point of Narnia, just to have fun, just get lost in the adventure. Um, so I really hope you have, and yeah, you know, so here we are at the very end. What do you think? Did you like this month, this Narnia month? Did you hate me doing Narnia this month? Would you rather me talked about something else? Are you interested in playing the Prince Caspian game for the 360, or you're not interested? Again, anything and everything. As always, let me know on my Twitter at nerdstalgic_pod. Also, if you can find this podcast on Spotify, Anchor, Google, Amazon Music Podcasts, Audible, YouTube. If you are listening on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe and all that jazz. It really, really helps out greatly. If you listen to this on Spotify, don't forget to give me a star rating. Underneath my picture on my profile on Spotify, there'll be little stars. Click there. You'll be given the option between 5 stars and 1 star. 5 stars, best thing you heard in your life. 4 stars is doing Vogons, doing poetry, absolutely terrible. Years of bleeding, you don't want to hear about it anymore. Which I'm sure a lot of people's ears are after talking about Narnia for a month. Yeah, so I'm going to keep this on for going on for long. I'm not going to babble on for this one. I have got one more sort of episode planned for the end of this year, before the end of this year. So look out for that one. It's not going to be anything big. It's not going to be anything spectacular. It's going to be a small, sort of quite short sort of one. But it's going to be an interesting one. And I think those of you that have stuck by me from the beginning will like it and appreciate it. So I hope to see you then. But if I don't see you then, I hope you have a fantastic New Year. Hope you had a fantastic Christmas. And as always, I've been Luke from the Nerdstalgic podcast, and I appreciate your time and thank you for being here. And you've been listening to the Nerdstalgic podcast. And yeah, I'll catch you next year in season 2. All right, guys. Bye bye.